Trading their first round pick away. And for what? To go all in hopes of signing Jalen Brunson?
The saddest sweepstakes ever. The Jalen Brunson sweepstakes. Is Jalen Brunson one of the 10 best point guards in basketball?
He's not as good as Doncic with the Lakers. He's not as good as Jokic with Denver. He's not as good as Wembanyama. He's not as good as Brown. He's not as good as Tatum. I'm not even sure if he's better than Cunningham. He's certainly not better than SGA. Defensively, too, I mean, he gets killed defensively.
Jalen Brunson just exposed the NBA's biggest lie about superstars. June 2026, Frostbank Center, San Antonio. 45 points, 15 of them in the fourth quarter alone, erasing a double-digit deficit, a championship the city of New York had waited 53 years to touch. Every camera in the building finds that same man. He was 6'1", generously listed, built more like a bouncer than a basketball deity, walking towards his father, jersey untucked, face doing nothing dramatic at all. Rewind 8 years, June 2018, a draft war room. 32 names get called before his does. 24 front offices independently of each other look at the resume of the best player in college basketball and decide he isn't worth a first-round pick. That's not one team missing. That's an entire industry agreeing on the same wrong answer over and over in real time. So here's the real question this video is asking. Not was Jalen Brunson underrated? That's too small. The real question is this. What if the NBA didn't just misjudge one player? What if it's been running the wrong test on every player for years? And Brunson is simply the proof. He was never supposed to be this, and the gap between what he was supposed to be and what he became is the biggest lie the modern NBA has been selling. The word scouts worship. Here's what Brunson walked into that draft with. 2 national championships at Villanova in 2016 and 2018. Consensus National Player of the Year as a junior. The Wooden Award. The Naismith Trophy. The Bob Cousy Award for the nation's top point guard. Big East Player of the Year. A team that won a program record number of games and spent 8 straight weeks ranked number 1 in the country. By any normal measure, that resume should end the argument before it even starts. Instead, it got explained away. Too small, they said. Not explosive enough. A system player. That's league code for someone who only wins because of the shooters around him. The kind of prospect scouts love to praise and refuse to draft, because polish doesn't test well, and neither does maturity. Dallas's own front office barely believed its luck. Longtime Mavericks GM Donnie Nelson watched a 2-time national champion and consensus player of the year slide to pick 33, and could hardly process that nobody ahead of him had pulled the trigger.
With the 33rd pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, the Dallas Mavericks select Jalen Brunson from Villanova University.
I'm not sure, Reese, that I've come across a more mature player in the course of my years in college basketball and as good of a leader. There's a reason why Villanova won, and they won in large part because of Jalen Brunson.
31 other teams had the exact same pre-draft files sitting on the exact same desks. Only one of them acted on it, and even that team wasn't fully sure what it had. Here's the lie hiding inside that draft slot. The NBA has convinced itself that upside only comes in one shape. Longer arms, a higher vertical, a body that hasn't finished becoming whatever it's going to become. Nobody puts footwork on a measuring tape. Nobody times processing speed at the combine. So if a skill can't be measured, the league quietly assumes it isn't real. Brunson's entire case was built on things a stopwatch can't catch. A league addicted to stopwatches looked right past him. The shadow next to a unicorn. Dallas didn't just draft Brunson late, they handed him a role that made him even harder to see.
There was a period where Luka went out and I started to start, and I was playing really well. I think I was averaging like 20 and like 6 maybe, whatever.
The Mavericks already had Luka Doncic, a generational offensive engine, exactly the kind of player scouts build their entire evaluation model around. Brunson's job wasn't to be the story, it was to keep the machine running when the engine needed rest. So every time Brunson did something remarkable, there was a ready-made explanation sitting right next to it. Nice complementary piece, smart backup option, a very good second option for a team that already had its real one. The compliments all had a ceiling built in. Nobody was asking what Brunson might become as the engine himself, because nobody could picture it standing next to the guy the league had already decided was the future. Dallas didn't fail to notice Brunson was good. They failed to imagine what kind of good he actually was. The first of its kind. Summer 2022. Brunson leaves Dallas as a free agent and signs with the New York Knicks. 4 years, $104 million.
So you grow up watching your father play for the New York Knicks, and then you end up playing for the New York Knicks. Is that like a dream come true?
Can't really put it into words. It's pretty special. I just remember just being a kid and having Knicks stuff around. We still have old Knicks blankets from when he played, so it's pretty special.
It was, at the time, the first 9-figure free agent contract in NBA history given to a player who had never made an All-Star team. The league treated it like a punchline. Too much money for a role player, they said. A guard who looked great next to a real superstar, but had never had to be one. Knicks' desperation dressed up as a plan. New York hadn't reached the conference finals in 22 years, and handing that kind of money to a 6'1" guard read to almost everyone outside the building like the same old Knicks mistake, wearing a new jersey.
Do we think Brunson is a guy that is going to bring them to a second-round playoff series? He's not.
What nobody accounted for was the standard Brunson had been quietly chasing since he was a teenager. The idea planted years earlier by Kobe Bryant in a Chicago hallway, that there's only one real reason to put in the work, because you want to be the best, not the shoe deal, not the attention. The doubt didn't disappear in one good week. It took real seasons, but it started cracking almost immediately, because Brunson didn't play like a man who'd been overpaid. He played like a man who'd finally been paid what the league should have offered him years earlier.
I don't really care what the outside world thinks. It is what it is, what they think, but for me, it's just all about how can I get better, how can I be more consistent.
The lefty nobody was taught to guard. This is where the story stops being about what Brunson lacks and starts being about what he does that almost nobody else does. He's left-handed in a league where defenders spend most of their lives learning right-handed rhythm. Defenders spend entire careers learning angles built for a right hand. Brunson attacks from the mirror image, and it messes with instincts most defenders didn't even know they had. LeBron James, a man who's been studied by every defense in the sport for 2 decades, has said guarding Brunson is a headache precisely because his scoring, it doesn't come from the places defenses are trained to expect. Not an explosive first step, not a highlight reel dunk, something closer to misdirection, built out of footwork, pace, and the change of speed.
It's a different feel when a guy's coming at you lefty. I think being a lefty too, when you're that dynamic, it just gives the defense and the defender a little bit more of a headache.
His own teammate Karl Anthony Towns put it simply, it's the craft, subtle footwork, a change of pace, the ability to manufacture just enough space without ever winning a foot race. It forces defenders to react instead of dictate, and reacting to Jalen Brunson is a losing proposition. Go under a screen, he pulls up and shoots over it. Send extra help, he finds a read before it arrives. Switch a bigger defender onto him. He walks the mismatch down to a spot only he can see. There's no clean answer. His game isn't solved by size, it's solved by discipline, and discipline doesn't get tired. The NBA's second lie is that dominance has to look spectacular to count. Brunson dominates in a way that doesn't trend, it just wins, possession by possession, until the box score reads like a highlight reel, even though the film looked like a chess match. This season, the league stopped explaining it away. By 2024, the excuses were running out of road. Brunson strung together one of the great individual playoff stretches in modern NBA history. 4 straight games of at least 40 points across 2 series, a company that at the time included only Jerry West, Michael Jordan, and Bernard King. That kind of scoring binge doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen to system players. It happens to guys who have been quietly rehearsing the moment for years. One monster night, the league can shrug off. 4 straight, under playoff pressure, cannot be shrugged off. That's not a hot streak, that's a pattern. And patterns are exactly what scouting reports are supposed to predict. This one wasn't in anybody's report. Brunson kept climbing, 3 straight All-Star selections, from 2024 through 2026, 3 straight All-NBA second-team nods, a Clutch Player of the Year award, for a game supposedly built on nothing flashy at all. In 2025, he led the Knicks to their first Eastern Conference Finals appearance in 25 years. Every checkpoint the league uses to gatekeep stardom, All-Star, All-NBA, deep playoff runs, Brunson was quietly checking off every one, while the conversation around him kept lagging a full season behind what he actually was doing. The wall of quotes in a teenager's bedroom. Villanova coach Jay Wright will tell you exactly when he realized Brunson was different, and it wasn't on a basketball court. On a recruiting visit during Brunson's senior year of high school, Wright walked into his bedroom and found the walls covered in quotes from Aristotle and Marcus Aurelius next to newspaper clippings of games Brunson had lost. That's not a normal teenager's bedroom. That's a kid already building the mental architecture for obsession before he'd played a single college minute.
He's taken his perceived inadequacies, like being too small, being too slow, not being athletic enough, and figured out how people are defending him and how to use that to his advantage.
Wright built his entire program's identity around one word: attitude. It went on the walls, the shirts, the inside of the jerseys. Brunson still recites it a decade later. Practices at Villanova opened and closed with footwork drills because Wright knew exactly what Brunson didn't have: takeover athleticism, and exactly what he could still control. Now here's the part that should stop you. Even Jay Wright, the coach who watched this obsession up close for 3 years, admits he didn't see this coming. He said flatly that he expected Brunson to be a very good second option on a contender. One of 3, not one of 1. If the man who knew him best couldn't picture the ceiling, what chance did 32 draft rooms full of strangers ever have? The marketing department's nightmare. Here's the NBA's third lie, and it's the one nobody says out loud. The league doesn't just look for great players, it looks for great characters. The freak athlete, the villain, the chosen one, drafted first overall with a camera crew already following him. Brunson doesn't hand the marketing machine any of that. He isn't selling a mythology. NBA.com itself once described him as a skillful basketball player trapped inside an accountant's body, quietly wrecking switch-heavy defenses for 40 minutes and then going home. For years, that made him a tough sell in a league built on spectacle. But reliability isn't boring to a fan base that's gone 53 years without a title. To Knicks fans, Brunson isn't the guy without a highlight reel. He's the guy who turned chaos into order, which turns out to matter more than any highlight reel the league knows how to package. The man who took less. Summer 2024, the Knicks offer Brunson a contract extension, and he faces a choice most players in his position never seriously consider. He can wait 1 more year and become eligible for a 5-year deal projected around $269 million, fully guaranteed at the max. Or he can sign now for 4 years and $156.5 million. He signs now, on purpose. He leaves roughly $113 million on the table. Modern superstar economics has a script, and the script says maximize leverage, wait for the bigger number, make the front office bid against your patience. Brunson tore it up. The flexibility he handed back to New York is a direct reason the front office could later land Karl Anthony Towns in a blockbuster trade, extend Mikal Bridges, and keep OG Anunoby without blowing through the luxury tax apron. None of those moves happen if Brunson takes every dollar he's owed. The roster that eventually wins a championship gets built, in part because its best player decided that being the best sometimes means taking less, not more. That's the NBA's fourth lie, cracking in real time. The idea that a superstar always proves his power by demanding more. Sometimes real power looks like giving some of it back. The trade that proved the point. Then, on a random Saturday night in February 2025, the league accidentally ran its own control experiment. Dallas, the franchise that once filed Brunson as a nice complementary piece next to a real superstar, traded that real superstar, Luka Doncic, to the LA Lakers. It remains one of the most stunning trades in league history. So out of nowhere that players around the sport assumed it was a hoax before it was even confirmed. Brunson himself, watching from New York, publicly wondered on social media if it was an April Fool's joke landing 3 months early. Think about what that means for the whole thesis of this video. The team that once treated Brunson as the safe complementary option, while treating a flashier, more obviously gifted player as that untouchable centerpiece, went on to trade away the untouchable centerpiece. Meanwhile, the safe option was in the middle of leading a different franchise toward its first championship in over half a century. Nobody is saying Dallas was wrong to value Luka Doncic. He's one of the most talented players alive. The point is sharper than that. That same front office that couldn't picture Brunson as a franchise cornerstone, also a few years later, gave up on the player it had crowned as the obvious one instead. The eye test the whole league trusted got it wrong twice, with the same 2 players in the same city, inside a decade. Every checkpoint, the same mistake. Zoom out, and the story stops being about one draft class or one front office. It becomes a pattern with the league's fingerprints on every step. The draft. 32 names called before a national champion and consensus player of the year. Dallas, where he got filed as a complimentary piece next to someone flashier. Free agency, where a 9-figure deal got laughed at instead of respected. Every stop, the same verdict. Good, not great. Useful, not essential.
The saddest sweepstakes ever, the Jalen Brunson sweepstakes. Is Jalen Brunson one of the 10 best point guards in basketball?
Then, in 2023, on national television, a Hall of Fame voice put a number on it. Becky Hammon said it plainly. A player Brunson's size could never lead a team to a championship.
But at the end of the day, they don't have a dude. You gotta have a dude. You gotta have a 1A dude. And they're missing that.
They do have their dude.
Who?
Jalen Brunson.
No, he's too small. If your best player is small, you're not winning. John Stockton, Allen Iverson, Steve Nash, you could go down the list.
The league moved past the goalposts every single time. Brunson cleared them every single time. When he finally won a Finals MVP, he became only the 4th player in NBA history to do it after being drafted in the 2nd round, joining Knicks legend Willis Reed, Dennis Johnson, and Nikola Jokic. Every one of those 3 shares Brunson's exact story, written off on a draft night, then handed the league's biggest individual trophy anyway. That's not a coincidence. That's the same filter failing the same way, generation after generation. He also landed in a second, smaller club for a completely different reason. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, and Bill Walton are the only other players ever to win an NCAA title, a Naismith College Player of the Year award, an NBA championship, and Finals MVP. Those 4 were never underestimated for a single day of their careers. That's exactly the point. Brunson didn't just match the resume of the players everyone always knew were destined for greatness, he matched it as the guy nobody thought belonged on the list at all. 27 years, 53 years. May 2026. The Eastern Conference Finals. New York sweeps Cleveland 4-0, and Brunson is named Series MVP on all 9 media ballots. It's the Knicks' first trip to the NBA Finals since 1999. 27 years. 2 weeks later, Game 5 against San Antonio. On the road, needing 1 win to end a 53-year championship drought. Brunson scores 45, a Knicks Finals record, tying Michael Jordan for the most points ever scored on the road in a title-clinching game. 15 of them land in the 4th quarter alone, as New York erases a double-digit deficit against a Spurs team anchored by a 7'4" generational shot blocker. All 11 Finals MVP voters write down the same name, unanimous. Remember Becky Hammon's line about players his size never leading a team to a title? After the buzzer, longtime ESPN analyst Stephen A. Smith did something you almost never see on live television. He apologized to Jalen Brunson's face.
National television, I owe this man an apology. You know what I'm saying? I am grateful for what you have done for this city, what y'all have done for this city, and you won't be hearing any more doubts from me, my brother. You're a champ.
None of that happened because the NBA's model finally recognized him. It happened because Brunson spent 8 years proving the model had been measuring the wrong things this entire time. So what is a superstar? Here's the thing this video actually wants to leave you with. The NBA has spent years selling one idea of what a superstar has to look like before he arrives. Big, long, explosive. Marketable in a single highlight clip. A resume that reads like destiny from the day he is drafted. Jalen Brunson didn't fit a single box on that list. He wasn't the tallest guy in the gym, the fastest guy on the break, or the player any marketing department would have picked out of a lineup. He still became the most important player on a championship team, in the biggest media market in the sport. So the real question isn't whether Brunson is a superstar. At this point, that argument is basically over. The real question is whether the NBA's definition of a superstar was ever built correctly in the first place, or whether the league has just been lucky enough, often enough, that its wrong guesses keep getting buried under the right ones. Every scout who ever walked past the Villanova locker room had access to the same kid whose bedroom walls were covered in Aristotle and the box scores of his own losses. Only one coach was really looking for what that meant. and even he didn't see how far it would go. The NBA kept asking whether Jalen Brunson was big enough to be a superstar. It never stopped to ask whether its own definition of a superstar had gotten way too small. If this is your first time here, welcome to Rattling the Rim. Thanks for watching, genuinely. Drop your take in the comments. Was Brunson the exception, or is he the proof the league has been defining superstar wrong for years? Compare him to Iverson, Nash, Chauncey Billups, Isaiah Thomas, whoever comes to mind. That's exactly the conversation this channel wants to have. And if you want to be here for the next one, subscribe, turn on notifications. We're just getting started. Rattling the Rim is where the truth shatters the backboard.